Welcome to this month's Twin Cities Immigration Forum. This is a monthly meeting that's co-hosted by the City of Minneapolis Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Office and the City of St. Paul Immigrant and Refugee Program to address topics of interest and concern to immigrant and refugee residents and individuals and organizations that serve our immigrant and refugee community. This monthly series started as a way to unpack federal immigration policies, programs, actions, and news, and has expanded beyond immigration updates to include discussions on a variety of topics with speakers including from community, from governmental entities, and more. My name is Michelle Rivero. I'm the Director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs for the City of Minneapolis, and I will turn it over to Edmundo to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm Edmundo Lijo. I'm an Assistant City Attorney with the City of St. Paul, and I am charged with developing and managing the Immigrant and Refugee Program for the City of St. Paul. And together with Michelle, we host this immigration forum, as well as a couple other projects that we've been doing together to assist our communities here in the Twin Cities. With that, Michelle, I think we can do our first topic.
Sounds good. So the first topic, I'm really excited to share the news for those who don't already have it on their radar. Driver's license for all bill was signed into law by Governor Walz last week, and we're really grateful that we have a number of speakers today to talk about this incredibly important piece of legislation, including Mariano Espinosa, who is a Latino community specialist for the City of Minneapolis, Peng Zhang, who is the director of the Department of Driver and Vehicle Services, and Vina Iyer, the executive director of the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. So again, much gratitude to you three for hopping on to talk us through this new law. And I will invite Mariano to kick us off, please. So Mariano, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Michelle, and hola, everyone.
Hola.
I have no words to describe this victory. All I have to say is over the last 20 years, families in Minnesota have lived under trauma and stress. And this is something that it was not discussed very, very often at the state. But now we can say this is a new chapter here in Minnesota. I won't take a lot of time because I know that we have a commissioner and Vina. But something that I want to share is one is the community is super excited about this. I've been participating in meetings across the state so far, and we have an overflow of participants. They, of course, have a lot of questions and they're getting ready. And the difference now and in the past is you can see their smile. You can see how they are coming with that hope. And they are grateful to live in a state that now just become the 19th state in this country that will enable all drivers, regardless of their immigration status, to apply for state IDs or driver licenses. We know by the numbers presented by the Department of Motor Vehicles and by our own community that we have thousands and potentially up to 81,000 people will be eligible and potentially get their driver license. For the community, since the beginning of this campaign was very important to protect their data. So it was something that it was accomplished. So we know that the state of Minnesota will not able to share. And in this case, the fear was that their data was at risk, especially because we have potentially in the future a federal government who might want to look into those who are at a risk Also, the community is super happy to know that they will be able to apply and receive the same standard driver license, nothing different, no different color. It will be the same. So for them, they are finally receiving this as something that improves equality and equity here in Minnesota. I remember in 2003 when for the first time I had a long conversation with Tim Walls in a community picnic in Burlington, Minnesota. And this is the first time that I remember he was like, wow, I cannot believe this problem. But also when we have the 2006 rate, I remember there was a meeting that we had with ICE and the Department of Justice and the sheriff and the Washington Police Chief Mike Kominsky, and they brought a garbage bag full of identities, and they were complaining about us using different identities and fake identities, blah blah blah. And this is the first time that I remember Representative Hamilton, Tim Walz, and Chief Kominsky advocating for driver's license in front of ICE and the Department of Justice. So this is long overdue. I also want to use this opportunity to thank every single person here, like Michelle McKenzie, of course, Vina, Commissioner, Edmundo, everyone. If I forget a name, I'm going to get some text later. But I think that this is a victory that belongs to everyone and every single person and all of us. And I'm sure that in every corner in Minnesota, there is a family who is very grateful to have great leadership. And all I have to say is now I have a few more hours that I can sleep every day, and I'm happy. And what else can I say? I can retire finally and go and live by the ocean.
Thank you so much, Mariano. I don't think we're going to let you retire just yet, but also a great debt of gratitude to you as well for your work over the course of many years on this campaign, which has been finally successful, including your very hard work this year. So thanks so much for opening us up and sharing these powerful words. And I will turn the mic over to Director Zhang, and please forgive me if I'm misstating your title, but please feel free to clarify for the audience.
It's not a problem at all, and you got it right. Peng Zhang, Director of the Driver and Vehicle Services Division, and super happy to be here. I've been in this role now for a year and about 6 months, and that's how long I've known about this work and all this effort that's been going into it, and it continues to amaze me how passionate the community is and all the folks who have been involved in this work. And here we are, we've crossed one finish line, and now DVS has the torch, and we're very excited to continue the work.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry to just interrupt you, Director Zhang. I think we've got some background noise. If everybody could mute themselves so that we could hear Director Zhang, that would be super. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm super excited to take the baton and continue the race. As everyone may know, October 1st is the effective date for this piece of statute. And there's lots of work that will happen between now and October 1. And so some of those things are, we were approved, or as part of the bill, we had several positions that were included in this, two of which I wanted to highlight, and they're all equally important, but two positions that I want to highlight here in this call. We have two program manager positions. We're still getting them through the job audit process, and we'll define kind of classifications and titles and all that fun stuff, but they will essentially manage this program and be the state subject matter experts. They'll work directly with community groups and with community members on unique situations. They'll provide training to our staff here at DVS, and they'll also provide training to our deputy registrar and driver's license agents partners. We have business or local government, city and county, and private business owners who are deputy registrars or deputized who do work on behalf of the state, and they'll receive all training necessary to conduct these transactions come October 1. And so these two roles are absolutely critical. The funding starts July 1. Our hope is to begin the hiring process a little bit prior to that. And my big ask in this call is to, if you know someone or think someone would be a good fit for that, please shepherd them our way and make sure they apply. I think these two will really be critical, will serve critical roles and be the face of this work here at DVS, and we're excited to bring those roles on, and they're very much needed. In addition to those two roles, we're hiring 6 driver examiner roles. So that we'll spread those throughout the state. Clearly some here in the metro, we're still trying to figure out that balance. That's part of the work that needs to happen between now and October 1st. And then we also are hiring 4 administrative staff, kind of clerical positions to process these specific applications as they come through, because we know that these will have unique documents and they might require additional review in the back office. And so we're excited to get those jobs filled and get the staff here, get them trained up, get our partners trained up, and be ready for October 1. We also need to update our system, so that's going to, our technical folks are actively working on that. We have no concerns about having the system ready to go come October 1. We have lots of community work, lots of engagement that we're looking for. Looking to engage and looking for feedback and suggestions. We have lots of materials that we need to work out and really develop and share. And so we're looking forward to engagements like this and others where we can get some of that feedback, suggestions for what kind of communication would be effective and helpful. And then we're continuing to look at ways we can make this process better. We're working with other states, as Mariano mentioned. We're the 19th state, so we have 18 others to learn from, and we have been reaching out to our peers and having those conversations. And it looks a little bit different in every jurisdiction, but there are definitely lessons learned that they've shared that we're looking forward to leveraging and taking advantage of. So lots of work left to do. We have communication that will be coming out, and I know one of the questions that we've been getting asked a lot is, what can folks do now? And there will be more specific directions and communication on things that folks can do now, but at a high level, study for the test. That is going to be critical. We have the manual available in 3 languages. Actually 4 languages: English, Hmong, Somali, and Spanish. And so, and those are our official translations. We know that there are community versions of the driver's manual floating out there. We've seen them, and they look great. We just can't endorse them because we didn't translate them. But the test is developed off of the manual, and so please, if for folks getting ready for that test, read the manual, prep for that. Just a word of warning: there are practice tests floating around on the web. Those are not our practice tests, and they may not reflect our manual. Those are get put out by other states. They get put out by driving schools. They get put out by all sorts of different entities, and we hear feedback all the time that that question they answered right on the practice test, but it wasn't right according to our manual or our test. And we just for clarity, we don't have Minnesota does not have a practice test out there, and so the key is really to study the manual. The written test is available in multiple languages. Last count that I received was 12. And the major languages among Somali Spanish are among the 12. If there are other languages that folks are interested in, they certainly reach out to confirm if the language is available. But there's no special kind of request or anything that anybody needs to do. They can come into to make an appointment for an exam at one of our sites. And I'll talk about third-party proctor here in a little bit too, but at one of our state exam stations, and we can offer the test in any of those 12 languages upon request. And it's a computer-based test, and so we just kind of change the language, and folks can toggle back between the language, between the preferred language and English if they want to. We also have oral testing, and so we do those kind of two ways. We can do one-on-one. An individual can schedule a test, and they can bring their own translator. We'll have a proctor that sits in the room, and folks can have the questions read orally to them, and then when they respond on a paper sheet. Or we've also, since last year, introduced a group oral testing, and I know that our community partners are excited about that because our translators go a little bit further. We can get more people in, and I know translators are very hard to come by and they're expensive, and so we can do up to 7 testers with one translation session. All 7 testers will be going through the same test. They kind of go through the same pace, or they are paced together as a group. And that usually takes about 2 hours for us to get all 7 people through that. And so, but either way, go through the website for that. And I'll throw it in the chat here in a little bit too. I'm sorry, the website. The email address to sign up for either an oral test, either single or group, is the same email. And folks can show interest through that and then sign up, and then we'll coordinate an appointment for that. And then I mentioned third-party proctors. There are third-party proctors that exist already. These are, they could be driving schools, they could be our deputy registrar partners or our driver's license agent partners who are deputized to do the work on behalf of the state. They could be completely just private entities. Anybody can sign up to be a third-party proctor. The one caveat to that is that the third-party proctors only administer the test in English. And they can charge a $10 fee. If you come to the state, there's no fee unless you're retaking the test for the 3rd time. And then there's a retake fee on that 3rd test of $10. Our third-party proctors, as an incentive to be a proctor, they can charge $10 per exam on the very first exam. That does open up the pool for testing. I know appointments can be challenging, especially I imagine October 1 is going to be a large rush, and so those third-party proctors are another resource for folks to use. And then for community groups and even local governments, we encourage folks to become third-party proctors. There's a certification process. There are requirements to be a proctor, but if you have the space and the equipment, it's literally it's a browser-based test. So if you have a laptop or a computer somehow, you could be a third-party proctor too, and you can choose to charge the fee. That's an optional fee. It's $0 or $10 for that. And then lastly, once you pass your written test and you have your learner's permit, depending on your age, you need to wait between 3 and 6 months before you take the road test. And we encourage folks to make sure to get their practice in and go to our website once they're closer to that the eligibility date to take their road test and sign up for an appointment. All of our appointments are 30 days out only. And I know that that can be a challenge for folks having to wait until 30 days prior to eligibility to make the appointment. But what that allows DVS to do is to better predict our resources and make all of our appointments available. When we make appointments available really far out, one of the things we noticed was we had a lot of cancellations, and then especially in this environment, with turnover and just the pandemic, I mean, it was just really hard to predict who was going to be in the office and which examiners were going to be available to offer an appointment. And so we had to reduce the number of appointments we could offer to ensure that every appointment was held. by offering them 30 days out, we offer 100% of our appointment availability, and we've been able to keep every single appointment that we offer. And so we are able to put out more appointments and also more effectively hold the appointments. We see less cancellations. And so 30 days out, start scheduling those appointments and getting folks in. And then the last thing I wanted to share before I turn this over, and I'm not sure, Michelle, how much time I had, but I want to share something really exciting. And we have a soft launch of our chat bot that we just implemented. This is newer to. We've always had a chat bot, but this is a new chat bot that allows us to offer that chat experience in 4 different languages: English, Hmong, Somali, and Spanish. And so if you go to our website, which is drive.mn.gov, and I know the browser up here says something different. When you browse to drive.mn.gov, it takes you to this site. Here you see all the tiles for all the different online services that you can leverage through our website. Appointments are right here to schedule appointments, but I want to draw your attention to our chatbot down here, which we're very, very proud of. Again, soft launch. We haven't made our big splash yet. One of the things that we're looking for, though, is we are encouraging our partners, community groups, to go out there and test it out, make sure that see how the translations work. This is an AI chatbot, and so it's learning as more people interact with it. And the hope is that we'll capture the Minnesota dialect and really refine how this chatbot works. And I'm not going to do this in a different language. I'm going to show you guys this in English, but please check out these other languages. And so when you go into it, there are some kind of common actions you can take. Some of these you can do the entire action within the chatbot. Some of them will lead you to another link where you can complete the transaction. Anything that's done in the chatbot will be in the language of choice. And this button is here, the button that I want to ask everyone to, as they are going through this experience, if they have any feedback, positive, negative, suggestions for language, just the experience itself. All this feedback is collected, and it's put together. The AI bot actually stores it and categorizes it and helps us develop kind of enhancements to the tool. And so that is what DBS is working on now. I saw some questions in the chat, and I just want to make sure I answer them. So I think there was one question about do those 2 program managers, do they have to be here in St. Paul? So technically they will work out of Town Square, which is our downtown St. Paul office. That's our corporate office. It's not very nice, so that's why the air quotes. They will likely be very much a remote. They just won't be classified as a full remote worker. They still have their home office in Town Square, and periodically they will need to kind of check into the building. But our plan is to have them kind of travel. There will be lots of travel and lots of training involved, and so they'll likely spend minimal time in the office.
Thank you so much, Director Zhang, for all this information. And if people have questions and you want to start plugging them into the chat, I do want to make sure that Vina Iyer, Executive Director of Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, also has an opportunity to share some information. I know that there's been some engagement that's taken place. But again, for the audience, if you have questions that you'd like to plug into the chat, or once Vina completes what she would like to share, feel free to raise your hand. And again, thank you so much, Director Zhang, for being with us today and for all your work throughout the process. I have seen you testify at the state legislature, so I know you've been very hard at work, and your role in the success cannot be understated. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Dina,
Thanks so
please.
much. Thanks so much, Michelle, for introducing me. And thanks so much. And I just wanted to reiterate to Director Zhang and his team for already the partnership and getting the bill passed, and of course, an implementation, and for all the folks who are on the call who have just played such an instrumental role in getting this legislation passed over 20 years. It's been a privilege to work with everybody and continue to work with everyone to get to the point where people are getting driver's licenses on October 1st, which is so exciting. I will be very brief and just sharing that what we're doing here at the Immigrant Law Center in Minnesota, really in partnership with a number of organizations, both other legal aid providers, including the advocates who are on here, Minnesota Legal Aid, Volunteer Lawyers Network, other organizations, as well as a lot of the community-based groups that are supporting folks in applying for driver's licenses. And so what we're really doing on our part is working to both make sure that kind of conduit to DPS and making sure to get community questions to DPS and get them answered, and help with kind of making sure that folks can, a lot of people within the community can kind of be able to explain, some basics about the process. But then the second thing is that, understandably, after 20 years of not having driver's licenses for all, a lot of people have very good questions, lots of questions about what happens if they, if they have a prior deportation order and they go to apply for a driver's license. If they had a driver's license from, for example, the times before 2003, had it for a while, but then there's definitely people who have not been able to renew that license. What did they do? There's a lot of questions that are coming out that really, some of them are very much going to be for DPS to answer and help, and will help get those answers out. And some of them are going to be a combination of DPS and immigration attorneys and others. And some of them will be very much like immigration specific. So we're working hard to have a repository of get those questions so that we can get them answered. And then second, figure out the best ways to answer them for the community. And I think it will be a combination of, one, kind of FAQs that will be posted online and translated into various languages that are necessary. And we're also working on our team to do, we've got kind of like a QR code function so that we can also go to recordings as well. So we're working on that. And we're going to be working on that with all the partners that we're working with. And then there's going to be some questions that, frankly, it's going to be better for folks to get to call and get some advice rather than just issuing fact sheets. And so we'll be working together to set up, I'm not sure if it'll be a clinic model or exactly how we're going to do it, but have ways that people can get questions answered. And then, of course, just doing and supporting community organizations and doing presentations across Minnesota about driver's license. So we are working on preparing all of this together. We have a fun meeting of kind of the immigration legal folks working on this next Tuesday to work on planning, but we will be getting that information out. Definitely check out our website at www.ilcm.org for updates. But what I think is really important, and what I've been telling folks, is that there are lots of questions. People can also, this is one thing that we've done. We've created a form for organizations to put in commonly asked questions from community. And this would be a great form for all of you to use if you have questions. At this time, we're not making it a general form. We may make it a general form soon enough, but the biggest thing is, this is a form, there's going to be questions, and we're going to use it to inform the FAQs we do, but it's not going to be a form or survey that's going to result in an immediate response to anybody, and definitely not individualized advice. And because we know that can be really confusing to community more generally, for right now, we're just keeping this for more organizations to send in their questions. So please feel free, if there's other organizations you think may be getting questions from community and need to send them in, please send those. We're monitoring them, and then we're working on them, but it's going to take some time. And the reason it's taking time is that we're going to prioritize accuracy over speed. Is really, we want to make sure that we're getting the best and right answers for folks. And so I anticipate that what will happen is they're going to be kind of waves of FAQs and questions answered. Easier ones will be answered probably within the next, couple of weeks or a month, have like a basic FAQ. And over time, there'll be things that are more complex that come out. And we're also, just as our Director Zhang is working with other states that have implemented it, we're also in touch with some of the great organizations that have implemented this law in other states recently, such as Virginia, Illinois, Massachusetts, to also learn from them to be able to provide the best advice to folks in Minnesota. So that's just a high level of things. And if anybody has any questions or comments, happy to take those at this time.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Vina. And for those who don't have questions, if you could mute yourself, that would be super. And Edmundo, it looked like you raised your hand. Did you raise your hand?
I do. I have a very couple short comments and then a quick question. First, I want to say thank you to Mariano for everything you've done and everything you continue to do. And, I, for one, will very much miss you and be very sad if you retire. So, I'm going to make a personal request that you at least a little bit, just because we got some things to do together that I still want to get to. So like thank lunch. You. Yeah, like lunch. That's right. I still owe you lunch in St. Paul, though. Second, this is really directed to Director Zhang and to Vina. Just some observations that my office, and some feedback from my office, what we've heard. And I know Michelle has gotten some of this similar feedback. I've been hearing, I heard from Ukrainian community, but also the Afghan community and H-1B holders asking about how is this going to impact their driver's licenses when their license is based on, or the duration of their, the validity period of their driver's license is based on their immigration status. Is that going to change? Are they going to have to pay additional fees? So there's a lot of questions around people who have status at this time and also have driver's licenses. So that I think you're going to, I don't know if you're seeing those questions, but those are the questions that my office, I know Michelle's talked to me about her office also receiving those questions. Number two, and I know Mariano had talked about this at some point too. We always worry whenever there's a new benefits program, whether it be in immigration or at the state, there are always fraud schemes that come out and take advantage of members, community members, and take their money and they're not legit. So that's something that we in St. Paul are very concerned about and really would be happy to help and participate in any kind of anti-fraud, consumer protection type, either media campaign or work in that area. So just wondering if that is also on your all's radar.
Director Zhang, do you want to start?
Oh. Yeah, good.
I'll take a stab at it, but I will say this question has come up about what do we do with just temporary stay credentials as a whole. And while we don't have an official response to that yet, I will say what the conversation has been like is individuals who are on temporary stay, their credential will be valid, will remain valid for the duration of that credential. And if they were to transition to this credential, the standard credential, and use this process, they could do that. Now, I think one of the caveats is there are a list of primary and secondary documents. I know I've heard that feedback, and Mariano and I touch base briefly at the signing about this. They will still need to meet the primary and secondary requirements, and I know that will be a challenge for many community members, and is gathering those documents and access to those documents. And so that's one of the things that I think we'll be trying to figure out over this next several months is how do we connect folks to the right organizations, right agencies, so that they can gather the documents necessary to apply for this credential. As far as transitioning from a temporary stay to a standard credential, that will, we're working through that process. But the preliminary conversations have been that when that credential expires and they can come to renew, they will just renew for the credential that they choose, which could be a temporary stay if they had more, their temporary stay was extended, or this credential. Vina?
Yeah, no, I appreciate, I very much appreciate it. I mean, from our reading of the law, am I? Oh, I'm good. Okay, I'm just frozen on my own camera. So, yeah. So from our reading of the law, temporary status doesn't matter anymore. Certainly, if that's what the credential you have, that's the expiration you have in the same way that I think in some ways it's like, yeah, my driver's license still expired January 1st of 2000, this year, and just had to renew it. But that is our understanding. The one thing I was just going to ask Director Zhang, and this just might be a question for later on, certainly I think that, and I know there's so many community organizations that are really working on this question of getting people connected with their consulates, with others, to be able to get primary and secondary documents during this time. But as you say, there's probably going to be, and there's going to be perhaps kind of some populations that we see, okay, this group is just not able to get it. Is there I know there is a variance process, and I guess the one question is, when you've gone through enough hoops and figured out, okay, these couple of groups are going to be variance groups, will it be possible to kind of develop kind of some standard variances for common situations so that there doesn't have to be an individual adjudication for every single one of them, kind of helping you guys and helping the community too?
Yes, and that's certainly one of the conversations that are happening. We are working with our legal team to potentially go down that route of publishing kind of standard variances. I think as a practice, though, we have kind of shied away from that because the process is what's in statute and what's in rules, and so publishing any process outside of that has been just something that we haven't done. But given this situation, I do think that it warrants more conversation, and we are exploring that.
Thank you so much, Vina and Director Zhang. Mariano, I see you have your hand raised, please.
Yes, Edmundo. Something to share with all of you is related to fraud. Over the last now 2 weeks, I have seen posts over Facebook and other social media platforms. It is just sad. People are taking advantage already of people. I did call one of those numbers, and they told me that they are charging $400 or $600. I even mentioned I don't have papers. I was just trying to get more information, and they told me no worries. If you want, they said, we can do the test for you, and we'll charge you a commission. I was shocked because they were providing me all the details about how to do it, where to send documents. So the other day, when I sent the pic to Michelle Edmundo, I went to one of the Ecuadorian restaurants over Central, and they are offering international driver license. So people are taking advantage of this amazing time and joy for many families. There's another case that I'm aware that a person here in Minneapolis was charged $3,000. So scams, fraud, it is something that is real, and I think that it will be good for us to think about, what can we do as municipalities or nonprofits and government. Second, this is a comment not about the driver license, and we want to share it with you because over the last 20 years, we have great individuals that were instrumental. And one of those individuals is Vic Rosenthal. Last week, I had the opportunity to connect hours before he went to surgery. And we are where we are today because over 20 years ago, we had great people. We have not had the opportunity to honor those. So if you know who they are, please share your love and good vibes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Mariano. Thank you for bringing Vic into this space. Really appreciate that.
All right. If there are, do we have any other questions, Michelle, in the chat around driver's license? If not, we can go.
I'm seeing the comments that have been put in the chat with regard to establishing a page through DVS, the call out on fraud. We'll also check regarding schemes. Also just want to make sure to mention the Attorney General's office as a resource, the city attorney's offices as those fraud events or crimes, as well as the county attorney's offices as points of contact if individuals have been victims of fraud. And please don't hesitate to reach out if we can help connect you or individuals who are experiencing situations like that to any of those offices. So thank you very much. Thank you again, Director Zhang. Thank you, Vina, for coming on. Thank you so much, Mariano. Appreciate you all for going through this topic. I know that there will be more to come, and you're welcome to come back with updates as you have them available. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. Well, why don't we move on to topic 2 then? Topic 2 today is deaths off the coast of California, and we wanted to bring this issue to people's attention in case you hadn't seen it. Eight people were found drowned off the coast of San Diego, where 2 boats had capsized. And we'll put an article about that incident into the chat, as well as there was a recent death on the northern border. Mexican national was trying to enter into Vermont from the Canadian border and had died. And as you may recall, last year we had quite a bit of discussion around a family that entered through the northern border here in Minnesota and died. And I think we do see whenever we have a tightening of the border, which we've just had happen, or anytime the border has gotten so difficult to cross, we see people who are desperate trying to use alternative means to enter the U.S. So I think it's important to think about that and bring it to the federal government's attention that there are truly asylum seekers who are desperate and will turn to alternative means to enter the U.S. if the border is shut down. And the Biden administration, in anticipation of the end of Title 42, has been looking for different ways to encourage people to use other means and avoid using the legal asylum system that is available to them by entering the southern border, and trying to direct them in another paths. And one of those paths are some changes that are being proposed to the asylum regulations. And there's a comment period that ends, I believe, at the end of this month. And Michelle McKenzie is here from the Advocates for Human Rights to talk a little bit about those changes and proposed rules and comment period, and we can all make some comments. And Michelle?
Great. Well, thank you for grounding us in sort of the reality of what happens when we have, at this point, 4.9 million people seeking asylum globally, and a global migration system that does not prioritize safe, regular, predictable channels of migration for all people who need to move. Migration is human, and instead is really, stuck on exclusion and expulsion and outdated means of control that have proven to be dangerous and short-sighted for many reasons. As you said, the administration is currently proposing a rule that would mean a regulatory change to the federal asylum regulations that would pretty substantially change the eligibility for certain asylum seekers to the United States. The asylum rules right now, the federal law does not discriminate on an asylum seeker's manner of entry. And indeed, the statute says that a person is eligible for asylum regardless of their manner of entry, as long as they are here at the United States, in the United States, or arrive at the United States, whether or not at a designated port of arrival, and including somebody who's brought into the United States after being, interdicted in international waters, regardless of their status, may apply for asylum. But this new rule would take that away for most people arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border, and would really mean that asylum would only be available to people who could afford to fly to the United States, who were able to get passports to leave their countries and plane tickets, who could clear passport control in order to do that. It would penalize people for traveling through another country, and require that they have actually applied for and been denied asylum in those countries. So this really is something that I think strikes at the heart of what asylum was meant to do. Asylum was created as a way to ensure that when people are fleeing for their lives, they're not trapped inside another country simply because the place they're fleeing to won't let them in through sort of regular immigration channels. That was deeply weaponized throughout the genocide against Jews and other people in the Holocaust, and it is something we should remember as the purpose of the asylum rules. The comment period was 30 days. Typically, it's much longer, but the government is pushing these rules through very quickly so that they're in place at the end of the public health emergency in May. That ends in May. So we have to have comments submitted to the federal regulations.gov portal before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on March 27th. And I'm going to share a link that we have to here in the chat to both a little explanation of what the rule does, links to the actual rule so you can read it. It's kind of big, so you may not want to read every bit, but you can skim through it and look at it online. And also a portal that is available for people to get their comments submitted easily. You can either do it via that portal or directly at the regulations.gov link that's on the website. And we've given just a little bit of a synopsis of what the rule does and what some of the biggest problems that we see with it are, but really encourage people to think about it from our own unique perspectives. If somebody has themselves traveled through other countries in order to get refuge in the United States, describing the reality of that journey might be incredibly important. Why was it not possible for you to sit in your home country until granted some sort of temporary parole and get on a plane to come to the United States? Why would that have put your life at risk? What is the reality of our community's desire to welcome people and our capacity to welcome people? A lot of the rule is premised on it just being costing too much at the border and costing too much for communities like the Twin Cities to welcome people and to include people in our economies and in our communities and in our schools and homes. And we saw that people can do that, so we might want to speak to that. Let's see. I think the biggest thing is to try to get as many comments as possible. Right now, I'm just going to look and see if there's a tick on it. The federal government has received over 11,000 comments, close to 12,000 comments so far on this rule that is titled circumvention of lawful pathways. And I guess the last thing I'd say is that the Biden administration is approaching this as though seeking asylum is not a lawful pathway. And that is in fact not true. As I started out, the federal statute is really clear that no matter how you come here, seeking asylum is a lawful thing to do. So I'm happy to answer questions or put other links in. There is one event that is happening that I'll share the details of when I get the little link up, and that is being put on by the University of Minnesota Binger Center for New Americans and some of their law school groups on how to actually do the comment. So if you've never done this and want a how-to in framing that, there will be a workshop happening, and I'll throw the details for that in the chat in a second. So thanks.
Thank you, Michelle, so much, and really encourage everyone on the call to submit a comment if you're able, and check out the advocates website. I think it's a great. They did a great job of showing us how to get a comment in. And next, we are going to move on to, given the time, we're going to move on. Well, before we do that, any questions for Michelle very quickly?
I know Dr. Field wanted to make a quick comment too. So.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Why don't we, Dr. Field, why don't you go ahead and make a, I know you're here and you wanted to make a comment about an upcoming event, and I would very much like to have you do that now.
Yeah, I am. So good afternoon, all of you. I'm Miguel Field. I'm a neurologist at the university, and we have a group of doctors and nurses and lawyers called FALAM, Frente Acción Latinx Minnesota, and appreciate all you're doing. I just want to make a quick comment about the incident in San Diego where people drowned seeking asylum. I am from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico we have a issue very not uncommon that people are getting boats in the Dominican Republic to cross over to Puerto Rico, and it is quite a dangerous thing. So I agree with everybody's been saying, and Michelle McKenzie's about the danger of ocean trying to get in. It is not like crossing a Rio Grande. I mean, there are dangers there too, but ocean asylum seeking is very, very dangerous. And Puerto Rico, notably, people drowned in large amounts. Recently, I had 20 women that were coming in at very little a boat, and they drowned off the coast. They didn't quite make it. Puerto Rico, we have a campaign to work with that called Boat People, and it is a totally different thing to try to go through ocean with sharks, and inherently a very dangerous, much more dangerous than crossing the river. So I just want to highlight that this is a new chapter in people trying to migrate with a lot of medical consequences and very hazardous type of thing. So I think this type of migration should be given special attention because of the potential dangers associated with ocean migration or water migration, which is occurring in Europe all the time, but we've had quite a share in Puerto
Con nhồi
Rico.
ba like được không biết làm bây giờ. Dạ con nhồi ba like, okay. Love you. Bye.
So that was my comment. Michelle.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. Did you also want to share like a quick tidbit about that event in May? Quickly?
Yeah, we have an event in Maine put on by the medical legal group FALAM, and it's going to be in St. Paul in the Dakota Lodge. It's putting up by organization ASER, and we want to invite nearby communities to join. Somali communities are invited, Hmong communities, and other communities. We're getting doctors out there. We're going to have a cancer prevention booth, free blood sugar, vaccination, hemoglobin A1C, doctors and lawyers to consult. So we're putting a great team together, and we want people in surrounding communities to feel welcome. It's not only for Latinos, but anybody who wants to come will be more than welcome. So I will put something in the chat for Michelle to circulate. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Dr. Field. And we'll just keep on with community updates. I know that we have Peter Musimami from Get Gumbo. And so, Peter, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. I hope you can hear me okay. My
Yes.
audio is okay, good. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Musimami, founder of Gumbo. Gumbo enables organizations serving multilingual communities to send interpreted audio messages in the language and dialect of users, which is more memorable and engaging via a mobile app. Users can download the app from the Google or Apple app stores. For many on this call that are providing information to immigrant communities, you can appreciate the challenges of providing information that may need to be updated in multiple languages, but is also time sensitive, such as a free dental clinic being hosted at Midtown in Minneapolis in a week's time, or that there is a change in the times of a service being provided due to a winter storm. At Gumbo, we work with organizations to develop custom messaging that is then interpreted in different languages. Users are able to select a language of their choice to access the audio messages and also get notification of updates. We're currently working with a Twin Cities Community Health Center called Access Medical to provide information on vaccination locations, as well as we have a series on maternal nutrition, which they saw as a need. And in the future, we'll send targeted educational messaging to a cohort of their diabetic and hypertensive patients as well, to hopefully as well get feedback from those patients. Many communities and individuals might be literate, but especially for those that are older, we have found that they are excited and amused when they've listened to audio messages in their languages and at times in the accent which they're comfortable listening to those messages in. Options like WhatsApp provide an alternative, but there's so much noise on some of these social platforms that the critical messages start to get lost. We're able to work with local city or state agencies or community groups to help them reach the communities they serve with digital audio for even the smaller language groups. I'll be placing a link to where you could download the app to see some of the work we're doing with Access Medical, and as well as my contact information. I'll put that in the chat and also provide that to Michelle to send out. Big thanks to Michelle, to Edmundo for kind of listening to me over several months and being willing to help us, I guess, provide a different medium of communication to folks out there, because we know the options we provide, although they're relevant, there are some that fall through the cracks and don't get those messages. I'll be able to take questions or follow up with folks via my the email that I send out, that I put in the chat.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Peter. And I'm sure that people will appreciate having the opportunity to explore the app. If there are any questions for Peter right now, please feel free to raise your hand or just go ahead and ask. And Peter, if you can share your contact information so people may be able to connect with you if they think of questions afterwards. We'll also invite if there are other community updates that people may want to share. Now is the opportunity to do so. We are at 5:33, and I know we have a number of city updates as well that we wanted to go through. So if there are not questions, I'm not seeing any hands raised, but please feel free to interrupt me. And Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you being here and sharing information with us. Super. So I'll transition to city updates, and I know that I have some colleagues from City of Minneapolis here to share some updates. And so let's see, Tate and Christina. So feel free, whoever wants to kick it off, take it away.
Tate, you go ahead. You're listed first, and then I'll take anything and everything conference, including the workshops. Does that sound good?
Wonderful. Yeah, that sounds great. Hello, everybody. My name is Tate, and I use they, them pronouns. I work with Tina and Michelle at Neighborhood and Community Relations Department. I am here today to talk a little bit about the Community Connections Conference. This is the conference that our department puts on for the city. And essentially, the purpose of the conference is to connect community members to city departments and city departments to community members. And right now, we are soliciting workshops from the community to present at the conference. The conference will be held in the Minneapolis Convention Center, and it will be held on June 10th. I'm going to drop a link for some more information specifically regarding the Community Connections Conference for breakout sessions. I am tasked at NCR to solicit workshop ideas from folks to be potential presenters at the Community Connections Conference. It doesn't cost any money to be a breakout presenter at the conference. Just some information about workshop submissions is that we're looking for folks to submit projects or presentations based off of the city's strategic goals. The website that I linked below has more information about those topics and sort of what your session type could look like, but we're essentially looking for topics related to advocacy and public policy, affordable housing and homelessness, climate action, community safety and police reform, culture, economic inclusion and pandemic recovery, good governance, health and wellness, immigration, nonprofit resources, and any workshop tracks that are focused on youth. The link to submit workshop submissions is also on that web link that I provided below. And this is just a really great opportunity if your organization is doing any great work and would like to present to community members to be able to do so. I'm going to drop my email in the chat as well. So if folks have questions or would like to connect and maybe have some help fleshing out an idea to be a presenter at the workshop, I am more than happy to meet, and I just dropped the email for that below. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Tina to talk about exhibiting at our conference.
Thanks, Tate. I actually dropped right before Tate did the breakout sessions, just the general link that'll take you right to our conference page. You'll also find on that page the section where Tate mentioned for the breakout sessions. Down below, there's opportunities to volunteer and get involved, as well as for exhibiting. So if you're interested in having a booth, and you can do both, you can definitely present a workshop and have a booth. All of that information is on the main link that I popped in right before Tate did. She gave all they gave all the details. June 10th from 9 to 3:30. And then another thing I wanted to talk about too is our department is kicking back up what we used to call our community based organization monthly meeting. It was a meeting that was started during the pandemic to have more information regarding the response and recovery. It was very, very popular. Some of you may have attended it or have been invited to that. It was historically always virtual. We decided to kick that back off again, and we'll be doing that in person in the first week in April. I'm going to pop that information in the chat as well about when we're going to be hosting those meetings. There will be light refreshments. And if you do want to, and I'll be sending out an invite through email. So if you haven't received any invitations for this community partners meeting in the past, just put your name or your email in the chat. I've got my contact information, both my email and my phone number. Definitely reach out to me so I can get you added to the list. Historically, what this conversation was about, or the intent, is for community-based organizations and partners of the city to learn what the city's doing, such as city grants and programs available. And a lot that happened during those conversations is organizations learn from each other, whether it's the resources they're providing, opportunities to partner, etc. We had like Three Rivers Park District do a presentation talking about their free low-cost programming and job opportunities as an example. So we're still going to look toward that kind of format. However, these first meetings is really for you all to give your input on what these meetings can be. What would you like to see from them? Whether it's certain city departments, whether it's information on funding opportunities that the city is offering at the time, if there's a networking opportunity. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm very responsive. I'm trying to speed this up. So if there's no questions right now, whether it be on the exhibit hall for our Community Connections Conference or for our community partners kickoff meetings, then I will turn it back to Michelle.
Thank you. And I think Tate's got, thank you so much, Tina. And Tate has one more update to share. So I'll turn it back to Tate again.
Thank you. Hello again, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick call. So something that my team has been working on is applications for the Partnership Engagement Fund. This is an application that it's like a grant that the city offers that funds community-based organizations and individuals doing equitable engagement work in the city, engaging underrepresented communities in Minneapolis. We are in need for some more community reviewers to help us review the applications, as the application will be due tomorrow. And we are looking for some more community reviewers to help us review these applications that are geared towards engaging underrepresented folks in Minneapolis. I am going to drop the link to be able to have folks be able to potentially sign up to be a reviewer on our review panel. We plan to have a reviewer orientation at 5 p.m. on Monday, March 20th, which will be an online review panel. And then you will have a full week, so next week, to review applications. And then we plan to convene both a daytime and evening review session on Tuesday, March 28th. So that final week of March, we hope to have have the review panel convene. The review panel will be a hybrid, so we'll both be offering an in-person and online option. And we are planning to provide a small stipend to folks that are able to participate on the review panel. And if you're able to join us in person, we also will be providing food. We're just looking for some more reviewers to help us review these applications, as the pool of funds available this year was over $1 million. And we had a ton of applications come through, so we just need help with folks reviewing these applications. If you only are able to review 5 applications, we would still love your help, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to drop a Google Docs link as well if you just need a reminder and want some more information about the Partnership Fund. And I'll turn it back to Michelle. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Tate. And thank you again, Christina. Just really exciting opportunities. Happy that you've shared them. I just want to share a couple of additional things on City of Minneapolis side. I'm going to share the jobs link in the chat. There are many job openings now and new job openings that will come available soon. Invite attendees to look at the job opportunities at City of Minneapolis and also spread the word. If you know someone who might be interested in municipal employment. I know that at the state level, the Attorney General's office is also hiring for a wage theft investigator. So I'm just going to put that posting in the chat as well. And Edmundo, you and I have a couple of events happening in the next few days, including this Saturday. Would you want to take over those updates for the group? Oh, you're muted, dude.
Sorry about that. Yes, we'll start with our monthly naturalization fair. The cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul have come together in a year-long campaign to promote naturalization in our two cities, because between the two of us, we have over 20,000 permanent residents that may be eligible to naturalize. And our next fair will be this Saturday, the 18th of March, from 10 to 12 at the Blaisdell YMCA in Minneapolis. And we will have COVID vaccinations available, and it's open to anyone who is interested in anything to do with immigration, actually, because we have been getting community members with questions beyond naturalization, and all questions are taken. So it's an opportunity for community to connect with legal service providers, English language service providers, financial service providers, and others. So I think Michelle just put a link in the chat to the flyer for the event. And what else we've got coming up in, let's see.
Yep, we did share, I'll just say that we did share flyers in multiple languages with this group. If you haven't received a flyer, but you need one, please let us know. We will have also, I can't remember if you just said this, Edmundo, but we will have interpreters available.
No, didn't mention it.
As well as coffee, donuts, and COVID vaccinations. So please feel free to join us, and don't hesitate to reach out to Edmundo and myself. We will both be there from 10 to noon this Saturday at the Blaisdell YMCA.
Right. And then, as you all may remember, we did the Gateways for Growth and came up with Belonging in the Twin Cities report, which was a immigrant inclusion report plan for the Twin Cities. Our regional, our partner in Minneapolis was the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce. And in 2022, they did launch as part of that plan, We Belong MSP, Employer Resource Hub, which is a place for employers to find resources, connections, and opportunities focused on creating inclusive and welcoming workplaces for immigrants and refugees. So we will put more information regarding the hub in our notes, but also it's a curated list of organizations and agencies that can provide one-on-one technical assistance and advice about issues facing business or organization or workforce. It's a collection of articles and other educational resources on working with immigrant and refugee communities, and also has lists of events hosted locally and nationally focused on issues impacting immigrant and refugees, workforce trends, challenges, and solutions, as well as employer best practices. So look for that in our notes, and we'll have a link for We Belong MSP. We'll put that in the chat as well. Anything else you want to add on that, Michelle? Add on that?
I think we're good. I might have like a little bit of an emergency, so I might have to hop off, but I do want to share one last update that there will be a public health fair on Wednesday, April 12th from 11 to 1 at the City Hall Rotunda, hosted by the City of Minneapolis Health Department. There'll be a resource fair and awards ceremony honoring local public health heroes. This year's theme is centering and celebrating cultures in health. Wednesday, April 12th, the resource fair starts at 11. The awards ceremony is from noon to 1 p.m. in the City Hall Rotunda. And I really do think I'm going to have to hop off.
Okay. I think we covered pretty much everything. I think we can put some notes in the chat about additional reading. And, our next Twin Cities Immigration Forum, we're moving it to Thursday. So it's going to be April 14th from 4:30 to 6. Feel free to contact us with ideas for topics and agenda items that you'd like us to address. And unless anyone else has a question, we are good to go. And I want to say thank you for everyone who attended and for all the presenters.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you all. Appreciate all the information shared, and hope you have a wonderful evening. Take good care, everyone.
Take care. See you guys on Saturday. All right. Take care. Tate, you had a question. Are you still on? I think it froze up.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, I think Tate had a question, and I think she froze up, or I froze up.